Welcome everybody to Records Unplugged. This is our fourth installment, which is actually pretty cool that we've been able to keep it going for this long.
Let's go.
Today is particularly special because we have a conglomerate of people who are writers, producers, artists, and kind of fill every gap. Like each individual does that. I mean, Dayyon doesn't have an artist project, but he could bust one out at any moment in time.
For sure. Come on, Dayyon.
But how you know I don't though? How you know?
Okay.
I don't.
And
I don't.
And it's special to have Tone because he hates speaking in public, so it's actually a really great treat for him to be here. So yeah, I will do little intros for Anthony, aka Tone. I'm the only person that calls him Anthony though.
AKA
He's AKA Henny. He's an incredible songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist. He's worked with everybody from Babyface. Honestly, we were just talking about him the other day.
Hey, that's it right there. That's it right there.
Come on, fire.
Babyface.
Yeah, you cool off that. We good. Yeah, off the rip. If you start with Babyface,
who else?
You shut it. You shut it down. You shut it off the rip.
Yeah. So yeah, he's working with everybody from Babyface to Post Malone, Ty Dolla $ign. Even on the pop side, I mean, he's done girl groups such as, Fifth Harmony. I'm gonna throw a little Cheetah Girls plug in there. And I'm working on some gospel stuff right now. I mean, he basically can do everything.
Yes.
So shameless plug. He's also one of my clients, so I'm biased for sure. So that's Anthony. Blush is one of the best vocalists in our business, period, hands down. Anyone can come at me. Blush is one of the best vocalists I've ever met. She's able to really bring out special melodies and lyrics for artists that can really sing, and there's not too many of them, honestly, in our business. So Blush is extremely special in that sense. She's also just a great human, wonderful executive producer for other projects that she's working on. But I think her biggest skill is being able to make people feel real comfortable and be vulnerable in rooms pretty instantly. And then, of course, be able to vocal produce everything after the fact. So that's Blush. She's also working with all kinds of people like Demi Lovato. She had a Destiny Rogers cut that just came out today, a new young artist that, she's been working with.
Let's go.
Congratulations.
Come on,
Let's
go.
Let's go.
Yeah. Blush is one of the writers that I always call first. So I pseudo client. So I'm also very biased about Blush. And then we are super grateful to have the artists, writers, producers, Social House, which is Mikey and Scooty.
Let's go.
Yeah. They are honestly, I've been following you guys for a minute just on your writing production tip. Just because I know you guys, are that first and foremost, and also artists as well. But yeah, they've put out, I think 2 EPs now. Magic in the Hamptons was an incredible release. I personally really like the song Haunt You, which is a song that came out recently. And then obviously they have a lot of success with Ariana Grande among other artists. But yeah, really, really special to have you guys here today. So thank you so much for your time.
Welcome.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and then last but certainly not least, we have the wonderful Dayyon Alexander, who is our moderator and star of all of this. Dayyon is a songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, like truly wicked on the keys. He is the king of making any room just instantly comfortable. He is the first person I know that will make friends with any artist. Again, another writer that I am 10,000% comfortable with putting in any room. And also another pseudo client. So I'm biased again.
Appreciate you. Dang, okay. All right, we lit then.
Yeah, and just to give everybody that hasn't joined us before, Records Unplugged is super highly curated. Everybody that we choose has all worked together in some capacity or knows each other at some capacity. Dayyon and Blush work really, really well together. I met Blush through Dayyon. I met Anthony. I met Anthony through Blush. And Anthony and Blush work super frequently. And you know, Mikey and Scooty and Anthony and Blush, like, did you guys all live in a house at some point, or am I tripping?
Yeah, at some point.
So y'all all live together in a house together at some point. So that's definitely how close their relationship is. I mean, I don't think I ever forget any of my former roommates or, you know, people that I've spent a lot of time with.
Sometimes.
So I think that's what makes a huge part of Records Unplugged so special, is that everybody's, you know, for the most part, comfortable with each other and able to really convey, you know, their creative process and how they make their music.
Yeah.
Hey, word. Appreciate it. Livy, do you have something to tell us before we jump in?
Yeah.
Oh no, she jumped off. Okay.
I'm here. Yes. Thank you guys all for being here. I run a nonprofit called Motion Creative that its goal is to help bring education and music opportunities to musicians through education. So this is one of those things. We provide a donation option through Venmo and PayPal. And all of the donations go to Music Care's COVID Relief Fund. So thank you guys all for being here and bringing your energy and sharing your knowledge about music and everything that you guys do in your process. So yeah, I'll just keep the graphic up and let you guys do your thing.
Yay! Thank you.
Yeah. Man, yeah, for sure. Appreciate y'all coming through and doing this. I'm gonna try not to be too loud today, because Blush be making my decimals go up as is. Man, yo loud ass. Man, we get too loud. I think like she said, what's cool about this is it is a chance to kind of like directly talk to people who want to be, you know, where you guys are and do the same things that we're already doing. And I remember, you know, when I was trying to make music, if I could actually talk to people who were doing it on a high level, that would have been crazy to like be able to get that insight. So that's basically kind of why we started this thing. Usually the first thing I always ask, and she kind of touched it, you guys are already connected because y'all all lived in the house together. But I always like to start it off, because we do try to curate it with people who know each other. So from living in the house, how are you guys all connected then? Or where did it start? Was it out here in LA y'all guys lived together? Or, because I know you guys are both from Pittsburgh. He can't see who I'm pointing to.
Well, I mean, we're all from Pittsburgh, but I didn't know them in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I knew them out here. So I met them out here. So, you know, I think we've just been building for the last, I think it's like 4 years now. We just, you know, been building, just not even like working relationships, but just personal relationships, and really, you know, seeing each other in all elements. I just think that's just made us, you know, grow closer, even beyond music. It's like, you know, the music is a plus, but I think our relationship in general is just dope. And it's like having family here when you don't, you know, we're all not from here. So to have to meet people from the same city, you know, that it's rare.
That's huge too.
Oh, we love you too. Oh.
So before we get into the more success of it, Scooty, Mikey, how did you guys like start musically? Well, where did it start for you guys?
Like as the group, or like
all of it. Did you guys start as a group, or did it start individually?
For real, I met him maybe like one time in Pittsburgh, once or twice, through a mutual friend, and then we ended up reconnecting out in LA when we moved in with Tommy Brown, and we would like work together every day. Yeah, and we would work together every day and just make ideas and stuff. And one day we was like, "Yo, let's just make something that we wanna like listen to."
We don't want to sell to anybody. It's a product that we just enjoy. And
That's amazing.
that's the day we became a group. We decided we liked the song we made, and we kept working after that.
Yep, that's it. Tone, what was it for you? When did you realize it wasn't just like it wasn't a hobby, or it wasn't just like a dream? You were like, yo, I'm that dude. I'm a producer now. Like, what was it for you?
Yeah, my story's a little crazy. Like I had met a couple people and I sent out a demo my sophomore year of college. I heard nothing back. So then like 2 years later, I just graduated, just took a job selling pharmaceuticals for like a medical company. And I got a call and he was like, this dude, a producer named Roy Hamilton, hit me and was like, yo, I found this demo on my desk. I'm like, bro, I sent that 2 years ago. He was like, yo, fly out to meet me in New York on Monday. And I'm like, bet. So I just flew out Monday. And he basically was like, yo, you should just quit your job and come to LA and do music. And I had actually knew who he was from, there's a super big R&B artist, writer that we can't name any longer. That I won't talk about.
We already know this.
Right.
We already know.
Period. It's over.
We already know.
He did a lot of like ghost production for him. And so I, being a big fan, I was always kind of like on my list of artists I wanted to work with. So I think that was the moment when I actually had said artist cut a few of my songs. I was like, all right, I'm here now. Let's go time. Yeah. So that kind of sparked the journey.
Man, I'm so glad you would have been selling pharmaceuticals, dog. We don't need that.
That's not the
wow.
Not the beats.
What's actually really wild is I actually quit music and got back into medical sales. I took 4 years off and came out to LA and ended up in a session with Fifth Harmony and landed a record on there, and that kind of like jump started me. And also like even the boys, like just being around that energy again of like young dudes that just were super fucking talented and they played songs that just made me be like, yo, like I gotta. Actually, it's really Mikey Logie who got me into music. It's a funny story. I just met him. And I got it was like, oh yeah, come to LA, and I was like, yeah, I'm coming. He just looked me dead in my eyes like, yeah, you're not coming, and like, said some funny shit, but it just gave me the motivation, like I have to come now because he called me out.
He sunned you. He sunned you out.
Yeah, I was like, I think you're lying, bro. I think you're something, bro. You gotta come. You gotta really come out.
So shout out Mikey for calling me out. That was huge. Appreciate that, brother.
But that's amazing. That's the truth of it is, I think people see careers when they're in the height of it, but they never see sometimes it could take somebody 10 years. Some people do get there quicker. It could take even longer, but it's never when you think it's gonna happen. It's and I think that's why I love asking this particular question, because I'm always shocked when I hear like, man, how did you really, like, when did it begin for you? And some people like, man, it was like 2 days ago.
Right.
Like, what? I thought you did. Yeah. But it's like, Blush, for you, when was that moment? Like, when did you know, like, songwriting, being an artist, that's what you wanted to do?
I was like 19 and I was working, and like I worked at the post office and I used to key mail. So I used to like, whenever mail goes to the wrong place, you have to code it and like send it somewhere else. So I was doing that for a while, and then the plant shut down, and I was like, I'm moving to Atlanta. I want to do music. I mean, I've been singing since I could talk, but it's just like initially I wanted to be an artist, and I had reached out to Pierre Mador, who was part of the Corner Boys on like MySpace. And he responded. And when I moved to Atlanta, I lived with my uncle for a little bit, all the way out in Lithonia. I used to have to drive. That's like an hour. Okay. Yeah. Super far to even get to Midtown Atlanta and work with him. And I worked with him for a year, and he just taught me about songwriting. I didn't even know it was like a blossoming career. I didn't even know it was an option. Yeah. I just thought everybody wrote their own songs. You know what I mean? Facts. Like you hear about it, but it just wasn't like something that I thought was an actual lucrative career. I just thought it was just like, some, whatever. And, he taught me how to record. He taught me how to like be in the pocket. And, that's why I'm so particular about my pocket. Like we know. Okay. in that pocket.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he taught me how to record. He taught me how to just sing with passion and sell the record and then write properly and like tell a story and what are you saying. And, you know, I was under him for a few years, and then I was in Atlanta. You know, I worked with K. Michelle, and, you know, we did that project, the first project, and I was just like, I'm moving to LA. I want more. Yeah. And I've been here ever since, and I'm probably not leaving.
Yeah. Well, you don't know. Something I always wonder, being on the other side, and I think you guys can also, any of you guys could speak to this. I'll start with you guys, Social. Do you find that it's more freedom writing for other people or for writing for yourselves? Because I feel like this sometimes it's the flip. Like some people feel more freedom writing for other people than themselves, but and then some the other. So I'm curious. So do you guys think it's more freedom in writing for other artists or for yourselves?
I feel like honestly, it's a little bit more freedom for yourself, but I feel like it's still different.
Yeah, I feel like in general, when you write for yourself, it's typically more free because you can explore anything in your life that you want to talk about. So there is more areas you can go that are acceptable to you, but obviously there's an issue of like lassoing on what exactly you want to talk about when you think about everything. So it's kind of it's more freeing to write for other people, to write for yourself, but it's also a little easier to write for somebody else because you can kind of like tailor the thoughts specifically easier. It's kind of easier to hear what somebody feels and word it better than like describing your own feelings.
Yeah.
What you saying, Blush? I see them eyeballs.
I agree. I feel like I don't know I'm writing for myself until it's done. Like if I'm just writing a song to write a song, maybe later I'll feel like, wow, that really relates to me. That's how I put my EP together. I didn't intend on it, but these songs are all just moments where I was just writing just to write. But when I'm writing for somebody, it still feels freeing because I feel like I'm freeing them. Yeah. It's still a freeing experience to listen to somebody's story, somebody tell you something personal, and you be able to illustrate that in a way where they're like, oh, this is exactly what I was thinking, or this is exactly what I was feeling, and you're able to put it in words. That's freeing for me too. So yeah. I think I don't know. I think both. I think the art in general is just freeing.
Yeah.
And Tone, when you're collabing with artists in your room as a producer, for you, what's the most important thing to you in the room? Like when you're trying to get to that point, trying to get that vulnerability out of a songwriter or an artist, what's the most important thing you think for you your job is?
Yeah, I think with me it's just like I kind of changed my approach in the last couple of years. I used to be very like track driven, like come with an idea and like walk into the room and try to sell that. Now I'm kind of the opposite. I like starting from scratch, and it's more important to me to like, I kind of like to have an artist play me what they've done and then try to see where I could go different. Like that's kind of like my new drive lately. It's like, let me just kind of shake you up out of your comfort zone a little bit and push you in a direction that's a little bit different. And I think I'm also like fortunate. A lot of the writers I work with, like Blush and whatever, Fresh is another really good one. As writers in general, they're really Fresh, dude. But they're really good at just getting into like emotions and like having that conversation. Like what are you like experiencing? What's going on in your life? And I think when they do that, a lot of times I'll just kind of sit back and listen to what's happening, and then based on that, I might play chords that I feel match what the artist said. And then when you start just kind of not even on some like, you just kind of like sneak them in the background and start playing it, and then next thing you know, like just humming a melody, and then you off to the races,
Yeah. Blush and Social, how important is that to you guys to be vulnerable in the room? Do you think you can make a good song too without that vulnerability?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I feel like you can make a good song without vulnerability. You can make
yeah,
good
it
songs
depends on.
out of spoons and some dude yelling weird stuff. Like you can make good songs out of almost anything for real.
I think it's the environment. I think if it's a vulnerable moment that they want to discuss, then you have to be able to empathize and be in that moment to be vulnerable with them. Because if you can't even empathize, if you're kind of like, oh well, whatever, like I don't know what you mean, like you're not gonna get the song that is needed. You know, I mean, you can write a song about anything. It just depends on. I think it just depends on the atmosphere. What the vibe is. Like if we walk in, you know, we all happy but the artist is sad, it's like we kind of gotta switch lanes because it's not our room. That's what that from a perspective, I have had to learn that it's not my room. So whatever the artist is feeling, we in there. I'm feeling good, but you might be feeling like sad. You might want to talk about something sad, and it's not my room. So let's be sad, let's cry.
Yeah. So more so like adapting to whatever the artist has. Like not necessarily you don't necessarily have to be vulnerable, but you have to be in tune with their vulnerability or whatever they're on. Because like, they won't make like the box. You don't have to be vulnerable.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he was. We don't. I get what you're saying. But yeah, I like what you were saying, Tone, too. You know, because I think a lot of times you do have this approach of this is how I want to start a session. I got this beat or I got this track, but people come in on some different stuff every day. Somebody might come in and you're like, oh, I heard the music you make. You make sad shit, so let me get through and play these chords. Right. You come in like, I'm trying to make that dance record. You know what I mean? So it's like, so if you're not open to that and ready to adapt, because that's what music is. I mean, it really is a feeling of whatever you're feeling in that moment. And I think we all have to be prepared to give that part of us anytime. Like if it's kind of like, no, this is what I wanted to make today, man, you narrowing your chances of getting those records. Yeah. I feel like all of you guys now are in this place where you've had success in different avenues, whether it's been writing for others, your solo careers, production, all these things. I'm maybe it's not, but do you feel like now, once you get to a place where you've seen, you know, where songs have been on the charts, or you know, all of that stuff comes into play, does it change the way you do sessions or approach writing music at all? Being aware of like, I want my whatever song I do next to be just as successful or to be more successful. Does it change the way you actually make music now as opposed to before you had that success?
That's like treating your kids who didn't do as good. I don't know, treating like I feel like that's like treating your children separately than they should be treated. Like, you know what I mean? Like you should treat every session like it's special, like it could be anything, not necessarily like I want to achieve something that I achieved before. I think there you narrow yourself as well, like tremendously.
Yeah.
Because no two songs are gonna like be number one again. Like, you know what I mean? Like usually, like it's not like the same song you've heard before is usually gonna be number one again. Like there's a different song every time. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
You can't mimic you also can't mimic what you don't understand. And most of the time you don't know what makes people like music in a lot of ways.
I also think it's very it's all about what you want. Some people want that. Some people want, I know producers who are like, yeah, but you're only as good as your last hit. And I know people are like, I really don't care. I'm one of them people who my whole goal is to just reach people. If I touch you, cool. You were supposed to be touched. You know, I'm more of just like wherever happens with it, wherever it goes, I'm just grateful that I can be creative and it can be something. I'm not really into numbers and stuff like that. I know they matter in a sense, but at the end of the day, you know, people, you could put out 1 million records and then just that 1,000,001 is the one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just very fleeting for me to go for the numbers game, because it always changes. It's one day, this week you're this, next week you're that, this week you're, and it's very fleeting to me. I don't think it's anything more solid than just creating that moment of listening to that song after it's done and be like, yo, what? This didn't even exist. And that is amazing. And then other people hear it and they're like, yo, it's that. That's that for me. It's not necessarily like, I don't know, but it's different for everybody. Some people,
but I think
some people want the.
But I think it is important to kind of how you were speaking on it, to realize that the music still has to come from a place of you doing something that's genuine to you.
Yeah.
And usually when it comes from there, then all the other stuff that you want will kind of come from. I mean, and like you said, everybody's approach is different. There's some people who like, we only doing bangers, but what is
only hits?
But what is it? But what is a banger? What is a banger? Like,
it's subjective.
I
was about to say too, like, how many times have y'all been in with an artist and made 3 or 4 records and you know the one is the one? You're like, yo, this is it.
Yeah.
And it never comes out. And it'd be the one you never thought of that they take and it goes,
It'd be that soft piano ballad.
The one they told you not to make.
You weren't even thinking about that record. They were like, don't show everybody.
No, we need radio records.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What's kind of touching on moving back to what we were talking about, like more the beginning of your career. What's an obstacle you guys? And this is kind of an open question. Whoever wants to jump in on it. What's an obstacle you guys had to go through to get to where you are now? You think?
Being poor for a really long time.
Right.
Wait.
Being broke.
Oh.
People think it's sweet. Listen.
I just put being broke as like a fact. That is an opposite. I just put that as like.
Yeah, that's a fact. I'm putting that on the census, buddy. That is a fact.
That's just the first rule of songwriting.
If you come in, that's just gonna happen. You got to get used to it. It's a part of the game. No way around it. Unless you come from money, you ain't gonna have no money till you get money.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It's just a part of it, and I think it's what makes people great, to understand where you came from. I think that's what I kind of love about this industry is you have to earn you gotta work at it. It's a constant struggle because it's a constant growing process. You're constantly growing. The industry is constantly changing. So like you just gotta learn how to be humble. That's what I had to learn. I used to think I was too good to struggle. You get what I'm saying? Like, oh, no, I'm not supposed to be going through this and going through that because I'm this and I'm... No. Nah, you good, but it don't work like that.
Not at all.
When it's your time, it'll be your time. But until then, you have to learn. You have to keep learning. You got to keep growing because shit's... Oh, sorry. Can we cuss?
Yeah.
Because shit is changing.
Plug this PG-13. We good. Just as long as it doesn't get anything X-rated. Straight.
Yeah, we're good.
No, never mind. Don't give me an inch.
Look at him in the corner.
Yeah, don't give me an inch, fam.
I'll be in here like bomb. F-bombs everywhere.
Quarantine radio.
Right.
Quarantine.
But for real, you gotta. Listen. You live and you learn, and that's the whole process of this game. You can't. And I ain't even gonna call it a game because to me it's not a game. You are where you are. You get where you get. It's consistency, and that's it.
Yep, I agree. Tone, I feel like you have more to share on that. What was your I know you. I mean, we all got a bunch of them. I mean, I know that's a vague question, but give me something that stands out in your mind. Something you're like, whew, that was something right there.
I think with me, like how I came into music, working under a lot of bigger producers and that whole vibe. It's just the ego that comes with that sometimes can be super frustrating. Or it's just a challenge. I think grinding so hard and not really being in control of your career. And I think when you come into this business, a lot of angles you get in, that's what a position you're gonna find yourself in, where it's like all you can really do is work. And I think when I learned that and just kind of got over the constant no's, the constant disappointments, or maybe I would have handled this play different if I was in control.
Yep.
You really can't control it. So I think what I did, what kind of flipped in my brain was just like, you know what? I love doing this. Let me just keep making songs. And almost when you make them, kind of just move on and forget about it.
Yeah.
So that kind of, was a big step in, like a turning point for me.
I can't understand. I mean, this is a business, like, it does pay off, but it's one of those things. If you do not love it, you will not survive in it. Because it is,
at all.
you will not survive in it. So I mean, and this is to anyone who's like, I want to be a songwriter. If the words out of your mouth are, I want to be an artist because I love it, I want to be a producer because I love it, I want to be a songwriter because I love it, you will not make it. Because if your goal is to flex and to make money and to be famous, that comes so much later to everything.
Yeah.
So much pain,
but
so
even
much,
if it
much,
comes early, it's fleeting. You get what I'm saying? Like, even if you get it a year into the game, 2 years into the game, it can go. Okay? Because you could be hot this year and next year. You could be hot for 3 years. But when you're not hot anymore and you haven't been consistent because you were trying to be hot, you will be broke and you will hate it. And you're going to have to regroup and figure it out and try to rebuild relationships. It's just, just keep working. You never too good. Nobody's too good. Nobody's the best.
I'm getting some questions on this. Well, I'm not gonna ask that one. But what is it for you guys in the studio? If you're, and this is an open question too. What's like something if you're working with another artist or another producer or another writer? What's a big turnoff for you in the studio? I'm Blush about to go off on this. Blush about to go off.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm gonna let I don't have to go first.
And I think when I ask this question, it's not out of negativity. It's not to spread negativity, but it's more, if I'm thinking about songwriters and artists and people who want positions where they get in rooms, it's more for the kind of awareness of maybe some things.
What could potentially.
So this is not to like really just like go in on people, but just more or less like to kind of like spread awareness on studio etiquette sometimes.
I think you just. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say with me, I think it's realizing that in every room your role might change, and just kind of knowing what your role is in that room is key. And I think when that doesn't happen, it's like, I think I'm cold on the keys. If I'm in a room with a producer that's definitely better than me, sometimes it's like, all right, let me fall back and maybe I'm on drums today.
Yep.
And that doesn't always happen. So it's just like kind of just keeping that mentality that's best for, what's best for the song.
Right.
Hey, I feel that. I feel like what you said what frustrates you, or like
a turn off.
Yeah, just a turn off in the studio sometimes.
I feel like whenever we're not actually working.
Yeah. Which could easily happen.
For sure. They could be on their phone, sitting there not giving you nothing.
Exactly. You just sitting there. Or like I mean, I'm really like, I love it when I'm working with an artist and they have input on what they want to talk about and what they want to do and stuff. And like when you're in a session with somebody and they really don't have any kind of idea what they want to do and you're just kind of spitballing, it's kind of like, oh man.
Yeah.
You like, I could have did this at home. I could have did this. I could have stayed in my pajamas and did this.
Session.
Exactly.
A FaceTime session. No, I agree with both of them. I just feel like, ego is a turnoff for me. But I've learned how to maneuver because I know it's a defense mechanism sometimes, and people just gotta, pull up with their ego to let you know, this is my room. You working with me. It's, and you have to get used to things like that because I don't think it's malicious. Sometimes I just think it's, how some artists feel like they need to function to just be assertive, to just, because some artists don't write. Some artists really don't know how to write. They just want to be in the session because They want to be a part of the creative process, and a lot of them don't contribute.
Bless
Not a lot.
that.
Some
I
of
didn't
them.
say that. Bless said that.
I'm just being real, because the room is like that sometimes. It's not all of them, but some of them contribute less than others or more than others. But it's like Tone said, you have to know the room. So when you're first getting in with an artist, you have to really just figure out where they stand. And then once you know where they stand, then you can move on it. Like, okay, you're not really writing. Oh, you contribute. And so what do you think? You get what I'm saying? It's like knowing how to maneuver that vibe. If they ain't giving you nothing, just write a song. Just do your thing.
Let's go.
You know what I'm saying? Don't be offended. Don't waste your time though. If you got a studio time, write you a song, press.
What were you gonna say something?
Oh, well, I was just thinking, like, for me specifically, I don't really think I get like turned off thing, except for like whenever people don't realize the faucet's off. Like sometimes your ideas don't flow the way you want.
Man,
it's just sometimes it could be a Wednesday that's not good for you, fam.
Self-awareness.
Sometimes you can like run your ideas to the ground or through the mud to try to produce.
Yeah,
and that's like trying to choke a tree for oranges, fam. It's not gonna work like that. That's not how this thing works.
Yeah.
Season for it. And so to like everybody who's like creating new things and like really getting into this, I really hope that they really understand that like while you're going through this process, like Blush is talking about working hard and coming to, and Scooty's talking about coming to work, coming to get your ideas and describe your soul. Like it may not be your day for that, right? It just might. You may have more to learn. You may have more to experience to get that emotion out. You may not know exactly what chords to sing or what words to say to show how you feel yet, or to strike that parallel emotion inside of your soul, like to make it sound like what you feel. Like you may not have that right now. So like chill out sometimes, you know what I'm saying? I think whenever we get overly stressed about like deadlines and things like that, it's really hard for me because I think of it as art. And so like, if you tell somebody who's painting, like, hurry the fuck up. I mean, you
can say it.
If you tell somebody who's painting to hurry up, it's not this. Their passion for it changes.
Yeah.
And so like I just think like, just let it be what it is.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that too, because I think that is so important, like you said, for people who are starting to realize. I mean, I feel like maybe we've all had that moment. I know I have, where I would do a session and I would if it didn't go well, or at least in my head go well, I come out of going like, I'm trash. I ain't gonna never get another.
Same here.
Right. You've been there. I think we've all been there though.
And it's not about that.
I think it's self-awareness that, and it takes a while. Like you don't come into this self-aware like I can do that, because you don't know what you can and cannot do until you're put in position to do it. Because you're a writer don't mean you can write everything. You know, I had to really learn that, oh, you want me to write a song like that? Cool. I need you to put another writer in the room who does this because I'm good at this. So I've learned to put rooms together that make sense. You know, but that's a process. That's years of like, ooh, that session was terrible. Ooh, that session was bad. Ooh, what happened? And like really learning how your sessions are going and really looking at your craft and your growth. And like, you know, if you're really into this, like you say you are, you'll see it. You'll understand when you're wasting your time. And if you have consistently been wasting your time, then you need to change your sessions. Because it changed how you pick sessions. Because I was just happy to just get in the room. Let me just work. And it's not about that. I don't have to work with everybody. I just know now what makes sense for me. So when I say no, I'm not saying no because of ego. I'm saying no because, like Mikey said, the faucet's off. And we're not gonna get nothing out of this session.
Yeah,
I know that because I done looked up the music. Not anything against you, but I'm about being productive, and that's not productive.
Yeah. But I think that's another key too, is knowing your strengths, And it's okay. Like I'm not the singing type. Like I know it sounds crazy,
but you be saying that off rip though. You be like, listen.
Wait, pause. Dayyon does sing. He does sing. He's so
no, he
like,
does.
I understand
But in our
please don't
sessions
put me in the street. Please don't put me in
no,
the street.
he do be singing. But I'm saying he comes to the session up front though. He's like, you gonna sing?
I know. Yeah, and I know that. So I'm just saying, but knowing your strengths, like everyone, I think is like there's some people who are stronger with this or stronger with that. So kind of realizing that and putting together rooms that make sense is a big thing. Before we get to, I want to be able to ask a couple of the questions from the Q&A for you guys. These are questions that people in the chat asked. Casey Felix wanted to know, for songwriters, can you only write songs based on your own experience, or do you have to go through an experience personally to be able to write about it? Anybody can answer that. That was the question.
Because I feel like if you have an imagination, you can formulate what these things are. Yeah. You can imagine what it's like to be scared about something, or whatever it is that you're talking. You can usually navigate that. Without
I feel like that's kind of like, can you write a book about something without experiencing it? You could definitely write a book about some dragons or whatever the hell you want to write about
without running up on the dragon. I think one thing I will say is, for artists and if you can get life experience, that helps. It doesn't always have to be a personal experience, but life experience definitely helps you to be able to write about. It widens your imagination.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be your life either. I think people don't. You can take from other places. Like if you haven't had a heartbreak, or who hadn't? I know you lying if you say you ain't had a heartbreak. But what I'm saying is, if you haven't had the level of heartbreak that somebody's trying to tap, you can tap in from anywhere. You get what I'm saying? There's multiple sources of inspiration other than your life. You get what I'm saying? If you don't want to, if you don't have it, there's always somewhere to find it.
Yep. Yeah. This for sure. So this question is for Social House specifically. This is from Nicole. Shout out Nicole. She says, first she said, thank you guys for doing this. And she says, what do you mostly like about the whole artistry part and the whole process of creating, and what drives you to do what you do? What's her question?
Favorite part about artistry?
Yo, my favorite part is you get to keep 808s if you want.
Nobody else is gonna know what that means, man.
Creative control over your bass, fam.
Like, my favorite part is like performing the songs and like really seeing people connect and stuff, and like when you really see somebody like enjoy or connect with what you're with what you've said or felt, or specifically I'll reference Haunt You because it was brought up earlier. Like whenever there's certain people who've heard that song and have like actually burst out into tears and felt comforted from like the passing of a loved one. And so that type of stuff is the thing that you can't really quantify that makes it all worth it. And so that's probably what we love most about being an artist, and that's what drives everything.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Nicole, for that question. That's a beautiful answer. I'm gonna try to get like two more in. Yash, I don't know how to say your last name, so I'm just gonna keep it at Yash. I hope I pronounced that right. He said, what are some things, that's a good question. What are some things you guys do to keep yourself healthy mentally? He says there's often times when I can be creative or come up with ideas, and that can get frustrating. What's something you do to deal with that? So I guess he's talking about writer's block or just not being creative in the moment. But I like the first part of it. What's some things you guys do to keep yourselves healthy mentally?
I can't. Oh, wait, was he about to say something?
Oh, she can't see it. Yeah.
I can't see y'all. I have to switch screens.
I was raising my hand because I was going to be like, you just have to
No, go ahead. You go.
I was going to say you have to remember that you're a human, fam, and you cannot sit in a box all day hunched over and expect to like feel good. Like your body needs to move, your body needs to like circulate. Like remember that you're a human Do other things. Creativity begets creativity. Like, continue to do other stuff. Like, go pick up something that you haven't done, and like use parts. You start drawing with your left hand. Like, start writing everything with your left. Just do something different, fam, that you're not used to. It'll start to activate neurons.
For sure.
Go ahead, Bless. What were you thinking?
No, I was just saying that I agree. You just have to find other things to do, other things to satisfy yourself. Read, work out, meditate. I'm very much into meditation and just learning about, you know, cosmics and a whole bunch of, and reading books and Googling things. And like, there's so much stuff to learn. I'm never bored. Like, I ain't been bored in, like, I can't remember the last time I've been bored, because I just feel like there's always stuff to learn. You know, if you bored, then you ain't learning shit. Get on the internet. That's what it's there for. Google something.
Get on the internet.
Google something.
Why are you one long t-shirt? Just get on the internet.
Why do dogs exist? Where did cats come from? Like, I'm on that shit. Like, I be on the internet. Like, I'm never bored.
Oh man. Tone, what about you? You know, what do you do to kind of keep yourself fresh mentally?
I think it's important. I think I realized later on in my career that it's just as important to take time off as it is to work. Yep. I think early I was just like grind, and I grind so hard that like I was less creative, you know, stopped loving what I do. So now, like, if I ever hit a time where I'm coming in here for a couple of days and I'm feeling just not creative, I'm not afraid to be like, all right, I'm gonna take 3 or 4 days off. And I think
because you miss it. You really do.
But also, I think that's a good point, Yash. If you're listening, usually if you're not being creative, your brain's just trying to tell you something. You need to chill.
Yeah,
that's it. You can't. I mean, we're not robots. Creativity isn't this thing we just hit. Oh, creativity, and we just.
I mean,
but that would be fire. If there was,
you just drink some creativity. Stop at 7-Eleven. To grab some creativity. It don't work.
I'm done. There's something I'd like to add to that, actually. Like, one really great piece of advice that I received from somebody was when, you know, as from the executive perspective, you know, when we have a really, really good writer, producer, artist, we want to work them nonstop, just because like they're delivering the best stuff for us, you know? And somebody once told me, like, hey, just because like you can send emails every day and you can like go into an office and like you can take all these meetings all day long, like, does it mean, like, can you write songs? And I'm like, nah, I can't write songs. So like the same process that works for you as an executive is not going to apply to your creatives. So at least for me, like, when you guys are mentioning like, yo, you need some time off, like I'm just going to add to that and personally say, like, I don't like booking my people in like every single day. Like, I actually think that it like lowers the quality of what they're pumping out, because they need a day or two to like actually stay inspired and like take time for themselves, you know?
I think it's just about listening to yourself. I think there's a point, like in this business, we do have to work, we do have to grind, but grinding isn't always everyday working. Like I can if I get a good song out of a week's worth of sessions, I'm happy. Like, it doesn't have to be every day spot, because the reality of every day is that's just not how music is made.
Unless I'm locked in with one artist. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I'm locked in with one artist a whole week, I get it. With like multiple energies and
work on one big ass record.
No, I don't think so.
Isn't that how like Max Martin works?
Not at all.
He do like one big record a year.
I would love to work like that.
I know he definitely takes like a couple months on like one song.
Like
it'll be like three,
anytime I've worked with anybody on that team, like they're always like 8 weeks minimum to send a bounce all the time. And it's
Could you imagine
I have to put an 8-week reminder.
I need that bounce when I get at the crib.
If I don't get that bounce by the time I hit your driveway,
I'm losing it. Ayo, fam.
Yeah, but there's something that I've heard from them too, is like, they get, they only get massive projects. It's like the weekend comes in and then all of them are just like working on the same, like every single part for just forever.
I mean, but you're also hitting different when that's the one thing
Yeah,
you're working
it's a
on.
little
So, like,
different.
so yeah, if it's Madonna and the Weeknd and Taylor Swift, then like I might take 18 weeks.
That job's already taken care of. You know what I'm saying? You good. You take 8 weeks.
Oh man, this is crazy. I feel like we could go forever, but we getting near that time. So I think to keep it on a note of positivity, I would like to ask all of you guys if, for the next, big songwriters or artists who write or producers, what's one piece of advice or one thing you would give to people listening right now who kind of want to do what you're doing? I'll start with you, Tone. A little quiet over there. I'll start with, a little quiet. I'll start with you.
Oh man, one piece of advice. I think the probably biggest piece of advice is just to do what's like special to yourself, or do it whatever that sound is that you have, to like chase that versus trying to do what's current. This business moves so fast now that like you can't try to make what's on the radio right now, because by the time you do that, it's already on to some next shit. So that's what I would say. Just try to really just find like a niche, even if it changes, just with whatever it is, just find something that's true to yourself.
What about you, Blush?
I think the biggest thing that I want people to take away is find out who you are, right? Find out your strengths, your weaknesses, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. And that will make your journey a lot easier. I just wanted to do everything. So I had to learn how to be like, okay, Blush, this is who you are. This is what you do at a high level. So do this, collaborate. You just have to learn who you are musically and be okay with that. If you can't write club records, that's cool, because everybody don't want club records. If you can't write Jamaican records, that's fine. Everybody can't do dance hall. But it's like, whatever you do, figure out what that is, execute it, grow on it, and accept it and love it, and be out here.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, Social House. What's for the people kind of listening and would love to be where you guys are, making records and touring all over the world,
getting Grammys,
Grams, man,
getting new homes, Grammys,
out here,
chains, I don't know, cars.
Got that morning sunlight all day. It's still got that 8 a.m. sun. That's when you go to a different level. I still got the 8 a.m. sun fluffing through this.
Oh, done.
Oh man. So what advice would you give to people?
I would say don't be afraid to try stuff and experiment, and just if dabble in stuff. Like, if you want to record and you don't necessarily know how, and you don't have somebody that will do that for you, don't be afraid to like try stuff and just try it yourself. YouTube is like college now.
Like, you learn anything.
So like, just don't be afraid to like step into different roles, because you never know. Because like I wasn't a producer. I started producing because nobody would give me beats.
Them drums though.
That part.
Come on with them drums though.
But you do some drill. Yeah.
Yeah, don't be afraid to just jump in.
Yeah. I'm trying to like think about exactly how I want to word this. I kind of want to just say, like, at the end of the day, nobody can really like give you advice on your life. Like, if you want to do music, if you want to do this, do it. Do what you know you need to do, because like sometimes there's barriers like family or like schooling or things like that like literally you try to like figure out how you can make music fit into your life when you really want music to be your life.
Yeah.
And so like, if you want music to be your life, make it your life.
Yeah.
And that's it. And whatever all the directions you take after that can be just branches of the tree. That's it.
Amazing.
but I think understanding that idea of it, that if you want it, with that will come sacrifice and it will come struggle. That
For
is
sure.
that is the one thing I can just sit here and guarantee you will happen.
Guaranteed.
Never
No
will.
matter what. And I
And
think
it's just not just financial, but mental, spiritual, physical, all that.
Yeah.
you're gonna experience that. And I think if you know that going in and it's still what you want to do,
absolutely,
you do it.
You will truly get what you pay for.
Period.
And it will cost a lot.
It will cost.
I remember who said it. Somebody said, just remember, you always get what you're chasing.
Yep. Yep.
You will 100% get whatever it is that you chase.
Man, I feel like we should just drop it on that. That's hard. It's not gonna get harder than that. You will always get what you're chasing. I do want to say thank you to you guys.
Thank you so much
for doing this. It is it's always kind of like something I always think about, of how, you know, the way we went through it. We never know. You know, like we never knew, like, how do we get here? How do I get a manager without this? How do I get this? It's all these frustrating things. So to be able to talk to people who do it and have that direct, that's to me the beauty of technology, and I want to use it to the best of our ability. So I really appreciate when
we
people
really,
like
really
you guys
appreciate you guys
take the time to like talk to us.
Thank you guys. I love this.
Yeah, this is beautiful. Also, I want to say again, if you feel compelled, thank you first of all to anyone who's donated to the COVID Relief Fund for musicians. Musicians are considered by all circumstances private contractors. There's no union, there's no backup fund. They don't receive any type of like unemployment benefits of that nature. So it really is limited the resources they can get. And unless they've got those Max Martin hits, they're not sitting in Malibu. So it's a lot of really great and talented musicians on all fronts, from writers to session musicians to all these people who have been affected for it. So this money is going, it's not just going to like rich people who don't need it. This money is really going to working musicians who trying to pay their rent and trying to keep their dream alive. So if you are donating, we appreciate it. Thank you. 100% of it goes to that fund, which then goes to musicians who really need it. And appreciate it. Keep watching. Keep asking questions. Follow us on Records Unplugged and DM questions. We're gonna be doing more stuff, man. Again, appreciate y'all for coming through.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Thanks so much.
Bye bye.
See y'all later.
Body shot,